and camera phones. They captured Ike's relentless, almost ruthless power and minute-by-minute damage. Every passing minute, more and more trees fell. More and more places were damaged. More and more people lost power, and this meant no power at busy intersections. Ike pushed a lot of places back in time to when stop signs ruled the road. This is home video, and it shows just how strong the winds were. It's a wonder these kids stayed on the ground here in Warren County. Corn stalks flew through the air, almost like missiles, and the mess just kept getting worse.
Strong, damaging winds helped to clutter streets with everything from tree branches to overturned construction equipment.
Getting Ike to stop was not an option.
There it goes.
Ike came without an invitation and stayed around way too long.
Many of you emailed us wanting to know, was this truly a hurricane that slammed into Ohio and caused all this damage, or was it just high winds? Here to explain what happened that Sunday is News Center 7's chief meteorologist, Jamie Simpson.
Well, absolutely a historic wind event in the Miami Valley, and you could argue, in fact, one of the top 5 weather events of the last century here in the Miami Valley. And just to put it into perspective, at the Dayton Airport, a sustained wind of 50 miles an hour. That's the 3rd highest sustained wind on record. Amazingly, number 1 is 78 miles an hour. And the gust at the Dayton Airport, 69, that's number 2 on record. We have had gusts over 80 miles an hour, certainly with some thunderstorms, but not like this. This was a sustained wind with gusts from time to time. And the amazing thing is it lasted several hours across the area. Here are some of the highest gusts that were recorded. Lebanon 78, Wilmington 77, 73 in Anna, and in the upper 60s in Dayton, Springboro, St. Mary's as well. Over 60 miles an hour in Sydney, Wright Pat, Beaver Creek, Springfield, Covington, and Vandalia as well. We got a lot of emails asking, was this a hurricane? Well, it was the remnants of Hurricane Ike, not technically a hurricane when it came into our area. To be a hurricane, you need sustained winds of 74 miles an hour or higher. We had gusts that high, but they weren't sustained that high, sustained about 50. Tropical storm force winds 39 miles an hour or higher sustained. We certainly had those. And the winds that we did have across the area pretty much on level with the weakest tornadoes, but those typically only last 10 to 30 minutes, only hit an isolated area. This was everywhere for several hours, so certainly that's why the damage was so widespread. Here's the setup. There's the remnants of Ike, and there's still a circulation, and with that circulation about 3,000 feet up, 70+ mile-an-hour winds. Now, one of the keys to us having so much wind was the fact that we had sunshine across portions of Ohio and Kentucky southeast to this area, where there were clouds and some rain. For example, Fort Wayne, only a gust to 50, even though it was right underneath that circulation center. And the key, as I said, is the sun, because the sun heats the ground, air rises, and to compensate, air has to sink in some areas. And the air that was sinking down grabbed those very strong winds, and that's why we had the high winds across the area.
Thanks, Jamie. The effects of Hurricane Ike's winds were staggering. The devastation was statewide. More than 2 million people, nearly 1 in 5 Ohioans, went to bed that Sunday night without electricity, some without water, too.
It's too early to know exact numbers, but some damage estimates are $500 million, making this one of Ohio's worst natural disasters. Our reporters traveled county to county across the Miami Valley to show you the devastation firsthand.
This Kettering woman, barely walking against the wind, wondered why her neighbors came running.
They grabbed me and I said, what, did a branch fall down? And I come around the corner and it's like the biggest branch I've ever seen.
Tonight, the lines at fast food restaurants, the ones with power, are out of control. Most places have no electricity tonight, and power poles are cracking like toothpicks.
We just heard a large crack and looked in the backyard and noticed the power pole snapped in half. It's like a crack of thunder.
We drove around before nightfall and found leaning power poles in Trotwood, fallen awnings in downtown Dayton, uprooted trees and branches almost everywhere, a mess of construction in front of City Hall, and missing shingles and siding on several homes in Kettering.
And trees aren't the only thing that were blown over today. Take a look at this railroad crossing at the corner of McCall and James H. McGee in Dayton.
Take a look at this amateur video taken in Sugar Creek Township.
There it goes.
A tree losing its battle with the wind.
I said, what? That baby's coming down. Went in, grabbed the camcorder, And we got around waiting, and well, that's what happened. It came down. So.
But perhaps the most amazing scene was the Shell gas station near Gettysburg and Germantown Pike in Dayton. What's left of it, that is. Despite all the damage, so far no reports of any major injuries. Police and fire are extremely busy with calls.
We have trees down and power lines down all over the city. We've had to stay on overtime just to try to keep the streets passable.
You can't even hardly look. The debris flying in your eyes. It's just awful.
Letitia Perry, News Center 7.
We're told it was going to be bad. Oh my gosh.
The wind whips around Shane McKinney this afternoon.
Oh, this is nuts.
She'd come outside to take a good look at her home after a tree toppled over and got quite an eyeful.
We heard a large crack, and a few minutes later, we saw the tree on the other side of the house.
And over at the Xenia Old Fashioned Days Festival, the gusts of wind tested 10 strength until organizers decided to shut it down.
They were here for the Old Fashioned Days, and the wind got a little strong, and so we had to take it down early.
And with 40 to 60% of the power out here in Xenia because of the storm, many people around dinner time are wondering what to do, so they're lining up for some fast food where there's still power. People like Mary Beth Smolinski and her son Sean, they hungrily waited for over an hour.
Their drive-through was just all a line, and then the inside was packed.
But that's nothing, they say, compared to the cleanup they and many others had to do in their yards once the remnants of Hurricane Ike pounded the area.
And this big tree went down. It's probably a 50-year-old oak, about a 75-footer.
Robert Dudley and his wife came home to find this monstrosity laying on top of the house. They were surprised at the sight, but thankful they weren't inside at the time.
It wouldn't have hurt me probably, but it would have scared me pretty good.
Danielle Elias, News Center 7.
It's a part of a house you're not supposed to see from the outside.
Debris was flying all over the place. It came out, it almost hit a couple other trailers.
David Van Hoos was nearby when high winds tore the roof off of this mobile home in Springfield Meadows Mobile Home Park in Clark County, sending debris everywhere.
The roof over here blew off, and we thought that it was going to be a tornado coming through here, and everyone ran inside. It's just been a mess out here all day today.
And that mess was everywhere in Clark County. Trees split clear in two and blocking the streets.
We helped the young lady who's still down there sweeping, move everything out and pull everything out of the street.
Leaves being tossed by the wind, and the high winds left just about everyone in the dark.
Radio traffic on the, is congested, and it seems like it's wide, county spread, and EMA is already established and setting up command posts.
Ohio Edison, which serves much of Clark and Madison counties, says power is out to about 47,000 customers. A spokesperson for the company says it could be 2, perhaps even 2.5 days before power is fully restored. In Clark County, Brittany McGraw, News Center 7.
Coming up, Ohio Governor Ted Strickland's trip to Dayton, the day he declared a state of emergency, and more damage across the Miami Valley.
For over 100 years, the automobile has perverted America.